What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchiha here, back at you with another part 2 of Ultimate Universe video. Now, this will be part 2 of What If I Was in Undertale. Now, I know y'all guys want me to do, some of y'all guys want me to do What If Meliodas was in High School DSC part 2, but if I do that, I'm going to have to really, make it good. Like I said, I really like the anime High School DSC, but like I said, I watched the anime for like, how many days? Like, for like 3 days, and then I got on Hulu, and then I rewatched the anime. And then if I rewatch the anime, I have to rewatch all the parts again, and then it's just it's just gonna be a struggle. But I will get back to that video maybe. But further ado, this will be the remaining video of the day. This will be part 2 of What If I Was in Undertale, and let's get to it. Now we're gonna do a quick recap, and we're gonna get to new parts. So where we pretty much last left off, pretty much I was in Undertale, dropping down, turning Asriel Dreamer into back to his regular kid form again, and pretty much talking to him and stuff, and telling him that I'm not the original person who's supposed to be falling down. Going to Toriel and hugging her, being her friend and stuff, and eating her pie, and also leaving, telling her that I'm not supposed to be here. Two, went to Sans, pretty much talked to him and stuff, and tell him who I am and stuff, which he pretty much is challenging me and stuff, which had no effect and pretty much didn't win, but pretty much believe me and know I'm a good person. But I haven't added extra details for reasons. But I will add it to this new part, and pretty much everything pretty much happened the same. Aphis pretty much not Aphis Undyne pretty much got pretty much a little bit of whooping from me, but pretty much I healed her back up, and first pretty much broke the barrier, and I went to go see Gaster. Now, further ado, let's get to the new parts. Now, 50 minutes earlier, before the barrier had been broken. So Sans, basically as I'm telling you is, I'm not supposed to be in this universe. Well, you could say I'm not supposed to be intervening in this universe that I created. Right now, I'm telling you right now, is the truth. And that this universe has other Undertale universe, as Hardtail. It's each multiple versions of different Sans. One Sans that's went crazy due to Car making him go insanity madness. One Sans that is just a nightmare that killed all his friends. He tried to kill all his friends by injecting himself with an insane serum that makes him stronger, but came for a cross. And another Sans who killed his friends to get more termination to kill Car from keep constantly doing genocide runs. So be glad this is not one of them. Which Sans is saying, I understand, but can you tell me this? Why are you telling me all this? Well, because I'm quite bored, and plus, uh, I did I did make a promise to you before this universe got erased and rebuilt. Oh, you did. You told me to promise. You told me to promise you to remind you of everything about these memories, including about the other universes, and you could say all the other Frisk and Karas and stuff. Which, of course, Sans says, "Huh? Geez, I made a promise like that, kid." Which I said, "Yeah, of course. You could say that." But he says, "Oh man." Which he pretty much starts to say, "Well, given for the fact it's true, but there's one more thing. Why is your LVs so high up until infinite? How did you get that LV?" Which I turn around with with the same eyes, but with a little skull flaming eyes like Sans does, and turn around and says, "If I told you, Sans, would you get mad?" Which he says, "Oh, please do tell me." Which I said, "Eh, I got it by doing. I got it by hurting myself. Hurting myself." Which Santa says, "What?" Yeah, I kind of took a piece of part of my, you could say, soul. Which my soul is this. Which I show him that my soul looks like a galaxy. Like it, my heart is basically a galaxy universe of stars and stuff. It looks like a galaxy. Which He pretty much says, "What? What is?" Which I says, "Yeah, I kind of tore apart myself. So my remaining part is up in the sky, and this other part is pretty much here." He says, "Huh, I see. All right then. Then no more judgment. Now we're gonna go to continue off forward. Now, pretty much as I'm pretty much telling Sans that I'm gonna go see Gaster, and pretty much you could say teleport. Frisk begins to look around and trying to figure out. I mean, Azrael begins to try to figure out where the hell am I, including Frisk is trying to figure out where that went, which Sans pretty much not telling. Pretty much I goes to Gaster and pretty much says, "Sup, Gaster?" Now this is where Gaster says, Keyshawn, it's been a while. Which I says, yeah. And I begin to sit down and talk to Gaster while he can't leave the room. Pretty much, I begin to talk to him and ask him a couple questions and say what I missed. Which Gaster begins to say, well, from my looks of it, pretty much there was a there was a person named Ink Sans that been, that pretty much thinks he created these AU universes, or pretty much a god who pretty much created these universes, but he doesn't know that you kind of created this universes and all the other universes are ripped apart, as these are the same universes as his, but pretty much different in a way. Which I begin to say, yeah, I kind of took apart, I kind of took his memories and recreated the universes. So these are, you could say, sort of mine, but his at the same time. Now, of course, this is where Keyshawn feels a reset. He begins to realize that it got resetted. He begins to think and says, huh, look like it got resetted. Who do you think would have done it? Which Gaster says, I don't know, but the deal we made, the promise you made. Which Keyshawn begins to think and says, yeah, of course. And begins to pull out a soul and gives it to Gaster. Now, this is where Gaster begins to fix his whole soul again, his monster soul, and it completes. He begins to feel his original form back. He says, huh, I see. So I'm back. Now, this is where he begins to hesitate to open the door, and I said, go ahead, open it. You're not going to die or anything. And he begins to walk out and says, time to get back to work. Which he begins to transport and teleport. But he says, first, I gotta go see my son, Papyrus and Sans. Which he goes. Which I says, huh, okay. And I pretty much teleport back to the rooms and wait for pretty much Frisk to go down. Now, as I'm waiting for her to go down, this is where Azrael pretty much comes and pretty much says, oh, howdy, it's you again. And he pretty much runs up and pretty much says, I never get to thank you, mister, for bringing me back my soul, which I begin to say, huh, this is quite new. Regularly when a reset happens, everything goes normal, but I guess this is not a normal reset. Quite interesting indeed. Which he pretty much confused me, saying, what do you mean, mister? Which I pretty much says, well, regular reset be different as nothing's not supposed to be the same, as the thing's supposed to be resetted, but this is much different. Huh. Oh well. Beggars can't be choosers. And this is where I begin to see where begins to ask Azrael where his car body is buried at. And he begins to say it's under there by the flower. This is where I run. This is where I pretty much not run but walk to and pretty much get to her body. And I begin to revive Car. Now this is where of course she gets revived and she begins to look around and says, what? What happened? And Azrael begins to start crying and hugs her. Which Car says, what? who, which I begin to say, sup, I'm Keyshawn. Keyshawn. Keyshawn the Galaxy God. And begins to, smile. Now, of course, this is where Car begins to say, X, how did you bring me back? No one doesn't have the power to do that, which I begin to say, no one but me and someone else, but he might be coming to try to see me. Now, of course, this is where Car begins to sit down and talk to me and ask me questions, which I begin to tell Car that, well, basically, I took this universe from someone and created it of my own, but made it much different in scale, and all the other universes too. They kind of all merged together into kind of a big world. Now, the only way to cross through those universes is basically you have to be Sans or Gaster or Frisk, which Frisk is the only one who can cross through other ones because her termination is stronger than all the other souls. Which this is where Kara says, "I see. Can I do it too?" Which I begin to saw says, "Yeah, of course, all Karas can do that." And she begins to think and says, "So you're basically saying that all our universes are combined, like each sand universe and stuff. They can cross through these universes and can meet us and stuff." Which I begin to smile and says, "Exactly. But it comes with, but it comes only. You can only do it once, as you have to wait. You have to kind of take a break because it takes so much. You could say MP magic." Now, this is where Azrael is listening, Card is listening, and this is where Face falls down. And this is where, of course, Kara introduces herself and says hi, her name, and pretty much the whole title is different, saying under undertale question mark, as this is a new undertale, so you basically hear the noise, but it says undertale question mark. Now, it says undertale question mark galaxy, or you could say universe, as it's a universe where it's been created. Now, as that's happening, this is where I pretty much sees Frisk, and Frisk pretty much sees me again and runs and hugs me. Which I pretty much ask, "What's with the hug?" Which she begins to explains what happened, and that it was a different being that came and pretty much killed everybody in front of her eyes, and she had to reset. Which Azrael confirms it too, and they said that it looks just like me, but a little darker and corrupted. Which I begin to think, it says, so my brother came here to play too. That's great. He's probably gonna be trying to get to probably convince the monsters, the dark sands and evil sands. Which, as I'm correct, we switch to Dark K or Crazy Keisha, you could say. And begins to go to the other universes and talk to, we're gonna say, Horror Sands and Eek Sands. Alright, sorry about that. Let's continue. Pretty much, how can I say? Yeah, Crazy Cave or Dark Cave. Pretty much started talking to the Dark Sands. It says, "Well, Sands, do y'all want y'all revenge? Do y'all crave a revenge?" Which all the Sands are talking, including this is where Air Sands say, "Why should we listen to you?" And this is where, of course, Crazy Cave grabs Dark Sands and slams him to the ground, pretty much choking him and damaging him. Pretty much, you could say killing him slowly. Now, this is where this is where all the Sands are all shocked. The Dark Sands are shocked and stuff. They're pretty much trying to realizing that Dark K is a real deal saying, "You see, my brother created these universes, but this is also part of mine. So I can kill every one of y'all Sands without no mercy and just take y'all souls. Use it as my own means, as a plain thing. So do y'all want to try me?" Which Air Sands begins to say no, and all the other Sands stop, including Ink Horror Sands. They begins to shut their mouths and not and behave, which they Dark K says, "Good dogs," and begins to throw Air Sands to the wall, pretty much knocking him. Now we switch back to Keyshawn, pretty much saying, "Huh, so he's here. He's probably gonna start something big." which this is where, uh, of course, Frisk begins to say, well, she reset it because she didn't want, which I begins to rub her head, says, you did a good job. Anyways, let's go break that barrier. And pretty much tell her to grab my hand. Which this is where Frisk pretty much grabs my hand and I take her to the barrier and gives her the souls. All the souls. And pretty much combine them into one. So Frisk will have all the souls combined. So they can't leave her or they can't, disobey her. They're really into her. And they merge in with her soul. So Frisk is pretty much transformed into a different Frisk. As her hair is longer, it's kind of in colors, and her eyes is different, which she pretty much looks. And I pretty much tell her that she's gonna be the savior one day. So break the barrier and continue, which she pretty much break the barrier and all the monsters and stuff. I take her back to the beginning, and pretty much everything goes the same, but a little bit different. Now, this is where, of course, I'm sitting at the horizon with everybody, which Car, Frisk, and all of them is, happy and stuff, and decide to see the barrier broken and all that, and all the monsters too. Now, this is where, of course, Ink Sands begins to, we're going to say a couple weeks pass. Yeah, a month pass, and all the monsters are outside and stuff, and Sands and everybody is enjoying themselves, and I'm just there, taking the breeze and stuff, and pretty much enjoying, and, join them with them. This is where, of course, I go, and this is where Ink Sands appears. Not Ink Horror Sands. I just realized that. I'm sorry, guys. Horror Sands. Because, or is it Slender Sands? I really don't know. But yeah, Ink Sands pretty much appears, and he pretty much says, "So, are you Keyshawn and Chia?" Which I begin to say, "Who's asking?" Which Ink says, "Well, I'm Ink Sands," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I know." Which he says, "You know about me?" Which I said, "Yeah, the creator of all use and stuff and all that stuff. Yeah, I know." But he pretty much says, "Well, that's neat." Now this is where, of course, I say, "Well, should we go?" Which he says, "Of course." And we go. We start to go. Which first start to look around and ask where I am. Which Sands pretty much start to cover for me and tell him that I went somewhere and I'll be back for a while. Now, this is where me and Inkstand start appearing in all the worlds and look around. I'll be like, neat. And we begin to sit down and starts to enjoy tea and stuff. Now, this is where I begin to tell them that my brother, Dark K, is pretty much about to stir up some chaos, and have all the other scenes to try to work together and trying to destroy the other universes, or probably worse. I don't know what's his big game plan. Now, of course, this is where Inkstand says, well, we can't let that happen. We got to save the multiverse, which I begin to say, yeah, of course. But first, we need to get our team, because I know he's probably going to have some of the cars to work together to try to kill some Fritz to take their souls, or probably something else. Which Inkstand says, all right, well, what are we supposed to do? Which I pretty much says, well, first we need to get Pacific Sands. We need to get some of the Pacific Sands to help us out, and we need to get some of the cars, and maybe some Fritz, probably. Which he say, okay, well, I'll go start getting the recruiting. Which I'll probably say, nah, not yet. First, I need to go meet up with someone. And this is part 2 of What If I Was in Undertale. If you like, subscribe and do all that stuff. I'm Keyshawn Chief. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
Looks like you lost another one.